Now that we've got our restricted modifier put together, we can start to create the createRequest function. I'm going to flip back over to my Remix editor, and we'll add this new function towards the bottom. I'm also going to give myself a little bit of space here just so you can see everything more easily on the screen. All right, so right underneath contribute, I'll add on a new function called createRequest. This thing is definitely going to take some number of arguments, but we'll come back to those in just a second. First, let's make sure that we annotate this function properly. We want the function to be public because it should be able to be called from an external account. We do want to make sure, however, that we also lock the function down by using the restricted modifier. So after public, we'll say restricted, like so. And then we'll open up our curly braces. All right, so now let's focus on the argument list right here. Remember that the purpose of this thing, the purpose of the createRequest function, is to create a new struct of type request and then add it to the requests array. And we had created those 2 videos ago. So here's our struct of type request, and we've got our array of requests right here. Whenever we create a new request, we definitely want the description, the amount of money, and the recipient to be provided by the manager. These are values right here that you and I can't just guess on the fly. It's really the manager who has to specify the purpose of the request, the amount of money that they want to send, and who they want to send it to. So I think that we need to have all 3 of these right here come in as arguments to the createRequest function. So let's add those on right now. Down inside of createRequest, we'll first take in string description. We'll do a uint for value, and then an address for recipient, like so. Now you might notice that this line of code right here is getting very long. If you want to, you can absolutely put a new line right before public, if I can click on this thing, and then kind of do up our indentation to be like so. So this is 100% equivalent. You might also sometimes see like this type of syntax right here. And the entire purpose of this is just to allow us to read one entire line. So you'll sometimes see this in a lot of literature, blog posts, or what have you. Now personally, I don't quite care for that so much, even though it's really going over the character limit here. So I'm going to keep everything on one line. It's really up to you how you want to do it, but doing the indentation would be a little bit more consistent with style practices in the community. But again, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine. I am totally okay having the line run long. All right, so now inside of here, we're going to take these 3 arguments. Oh, boy, that scrolling is really crazy. I hope it's not going to keep doing that, otherwise I will have to do the indentation. Anyways, we've got the list of arguments right here, so we now need to use these to create a new request and then add that request to the requests array. So let's write out the code that's first going to create our new request. This is going to be a little bit crazy, and we're going to see the word request many, many times, but I'll make sure it's really clear what the purpose of each word is. We're going to first say capital R request, then new request equals capital R request. We'll then open up a set of parentheses, a set of curly braces. We'll put a new line in, and I'll make sure I get a semicolon on that thing. Then inside of here, we're going to place a collection of key value pairs that specify the description, the value, the recipient, and so on. So I'll say description is going to be coming from the argument description. So this right here is the field that we care about, and we're going to set its value to be the argument description. Then we have value, again coming from the value argument. And we have recipient coming from the recipient argument. And you'll see a little error here. Let's see what we got. Wrong argument call. So the last thing, we left one off, that's why. We also had that complete flag. So complete right here, we need to make sure that we specify that as well. So finally complete, and that needs to be defaulted to be false because of course when we first create this thing, it is not ready to be completed. Now we still have a little error message here. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so this is something, you'll see a little error message right here. I wasn't expecting to see that error message, but it's about a topic that we're going to discuss in the next video. So we can just kind of ignore this error message for right now, because we are going to come back in the next video and talk about why you see it. So the last thing I want to do for right now is take this new request and add it into our requests array. So right underneath it, I'll say requests.push new request, like so. All right, so we just wrote a pretty good amount of code, and we have an outstanding error, and we've got the word request all over the place here. So let's take a quick pause right now. We're going to come back to the next video and really break down this entire chunk of code in great detail.